once you've built that relationship and there's a level of trust there, and they know that I'm only working with the best operators, then they're willing to trust me to invest in a deal. What I'm doing is I'm selling trust. And it's funny because, we were watching Willy Wonka, right? And that's what I tell my family as a joke, in the sense is that I'm Willy Wonka and I hold the golden ticket. I have what people want, right? But if they want to get the golden ticket, they got to come to me, and they're not just going to come to me. They need to trust me, right? I'm going to give them something. They're giving me something in return. And it's really about the trust more than anything.
Yeah. We're back on Create with Kate, and today I have a great guest in the studio. He is someone that I would consider a friend of mine, and I'm excited to have him. He's a real estate investor, and we're going to talk about all things real estate, identity, and how that relates to social media and creating an impactful personal brand. So welcome to the show, Drew Greco.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me here. I really appreciate it.
I know. I feel exciting. Like we've done this. We did sort of a mini podcast at the workshop that one day.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I want to ask you, before you started posting consistently, which you do a great job of now, what was holding you back?
I would say, clarity of vision, right?
Okay.
And it wasn't, I had an idea. Right. I had an idea of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. And it was just a process that kind of had to evolve. It had to evolve because I wasn't sure of the direction. And that just meant going on and doing it, right? Just being on social media and posting and trying and failing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because I agree with you. You have to try it, and then it evolves. I mean, you don't want to just be completely blind, but like you had a general idea of why you were showing up online and a goal with like the reason for doing so.
Right.
But yeah, to really like hone in on the messaging, I feel like once you start posting and sharing, then your audience kind of tells you what they want more of. And so then you can just go deeper into that. But the only way that you're going to know that is by showing up and figuring it out, which is the tough part, because you have to be okay with being maybe embarrassed or feeling uncomfortable or awkward, but then it'll lead you to the next step.
Yeah, especially for me. It's not that I'm uncomfortable talking to people. I mean, I love talking to people, and I have no problem being in front of a camera. For me, it was just really getting personal. That was not something that I was taught not to talk about. You know what I mean? And so, and it's like, well, if you're trying to reach an audience and you're not being personal, then you're spinning your wheels a little bit. Like, and I know that my content earlier was hit and miss because I was just kind of going with, hey, this is what I felt that day. And I wanted to say something, but I'm not necessarily knowing what that message was going to be. But I allowed my feeling to kind of drive the direction I was going in, and then, it's just a matter of hit and miss. You try to focus more. And I think the more I opened up, the more I allowed myself to talk, the more I allowed myself to own those feelings.
Yeah.
And be able to convey, feeling and message.
What would you say now? Like, what is your overall intention when you share? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish and provide for the person on the other end of the camera?
Yeah. I mean, for me, obviously being in real estate and investing, trying to reach an audience, looking for investors that are looking to invest in mobile home parks or multifamily. But, everybody and their cousin who's a real estate investor may have a deal, right? And so, why does anybody want to invest with me? And
that's a good question.
And
right?
that's, I guess, where I'm at with my content right now. It's like I can educate and try to educate, but people want to invest with me because they know who I am. And that's why I want to share online, and also opening up more about my family and my personal experiences and my past and struggles, because we get online, and I do this all the time too, is I get on there and I'm very positive. I tend to be a positive person. Does not mean that I don't suffer, right?
Sure.
So what I try to do is convey that, I do have hard times. I do suffer. I do struggle. But that's not the end all be all, right? And that I want to gain from those struggles, whether it's helping somebody else heal through a problem, or say not feel alone. Because I tell you what, I mean, there's a lot of time in my life where I've felt alone because I didn't have anybody to speak to. Getting on social media and opening up, it's awesome. In a way, it's like opening the door to your basement and just talking into the basement, right? Because there's nothing down there, right?
Yeah.
And so I approach it like that. I'm just talking into a screen. There could be nobody there. There could be a million people there. It doesn't matter. But as long as I'm putting that message out there, somebody's going to relate. Somebody's going to connect, and it helps me as well, right? It's not just for other people. It's for me too, and I just, overall, I feel it's important to build positive relationships with people. And that's something that I guess for me was, personal, deep relationships were missing in my life. And this allows me to go on and open up, and allows people to get to know me on a closer level that they hadn't before.
Yeah, I love that. And you were someone that's, I guess, considered an extrovert.
Yeah.
Just you weren't doing it online until recently.
Yeah, and it's funny, like I kind of had to be an extrovert. My family moved around a lot. I grew up in Western New York, and then we moved to Pennsylvania. We lived all over the country.
Yeah.
We moved every few years. And one of the things that I just learned was, if you're going to make any friends, you just had to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right. But one of the things that I felt was, great about that was, hey, when you force yourself out there, you're connecting with people, and but a lot of the times, and one of the things that I feel like that happens, and it happened to me, is that you do that and you're wearing kind of a persona. And so you have this superficial friendship, right?
Yeah.
And people know you, but there isn't a deep connection. And then I never really had a chance to establish deep connections because we moved every few years.
Okay.
So on the surface, I'm this very extroverted person, but I would really consider myself kind of an introvert.
Interesting.
Because I love quiet time.
Yeah.
I love just being around my kids and my wife.
Yeah.
And I'm okay if nobody comes over. I love to entertain. I do. I love to entertain, but we don't a lot. And it's just, and I'm okay if I don't. We get invited to places, and I love to go. I'm definitely more the one that wants to go to these things, and when we're there, I'm having fun and a good time. But I tell you what, by the end of the night, I'm so happy to just go back home and relax.
Yeah, I feel like you like both. I would say you're pretty balanced, because I think that people give you energy. It seems like, but then it could also be. You could probably get exhausted from that too, just because you are so invested that it could be draining if it's too much.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it, is that so vested in those things, right? And I do, when I get out in public, I do feed off the energy of other people, and just meeting people, I get excited and I get animated. I'm 100% Italian. My parents are from Italy. I talk with my hands.
Right.
I speak loud. I have a big personality. Yeah. I'm not for everybody. I get it. I understand that. It may come off as really odd or overbearing, and I understand. I'm actually a really big sweetheart, but that's just how I am. I talk big, and when people talk, I get excited. And when people share ideas with me, I get excited about their
Yeah.
ideas. And what's great about that is those type of things build on each other, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and it just gives you a chance to get closer to people and really root for people. I think one of those things is just that growing up, there was these, I grew up in a town where it's a great town. I love it. I mean, I don't want to disparage it because it's an awesome place. It was a place I grew up, and there's not a very lot of places that are really have this cool, quaint Americana,
Okay.
and it's just absolutely beautiful. But there's a lot of negativity,
Mm.
and there's always this, like, you can't do that, or you can't
Oh,
do
yeah.
this. And when you're around that all the time,
Hmm.
subconsciously you can believe that stuff.
Sure.
And one thing that I learned from my parents was this do whatever you want to do, don't listen to other people,
Oh, that's good.
and you can, if you dream it, you can do it.
Wow. Yeah.
And try to block out that noise.
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm a cheerleader for other people.
Yeah.
My daughter wants to be a writer, director, then,
Yeah.
man, I'm all for it. Go for it. Dive in, put your heart into it.
Yeah.
I always encourage anybody that is trying to start something new, because it takes a lot. And
Right.
you need support from other people. And if you don't have somebody cheering you on, as a support, it's easy to get discouraged sometimes, especially with
Oh,
something new.
yeah. It's really easy. And a lot of people, I think, even parents that have the best of intentions are not supporting and encouraging because they think they're protecting, but
Mhm.
that's not helpful,
No.
because if that is a dream or something, that they have, like, who are you to say if they can do it or not? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what the statistics are. Like, that shouldn't mean anything. I just think that's interesting how people do that. I think they're just trying to protect, but really it's like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I think it's just natural as a
Hmm.
parent. We all kind of fall into that trap a little
Yeah.
bit, because one thing that I did was I was just an adventurer. I as soon as I had a driver's license and could buy a car,
Hmm.
I took off. I was on the road. I was doing road trips all
Yeah.
over the place. It scared the crap out of my parents, and I encourage travel and adventure. I think it's an essential part of everybody's being. And if you
Yeah.
don't experience some of that at some point in your life, you're missing out. And my son, which we've spoken about
Hmm.
before, he's autistic, and he's 18, and he's developing into a young man, and
Hmm.
there's a lot of skills that he needs to learn. But it was actually just yesterday we were talking about opportunity, and he's just discovering that, oh, if I have a job, then I can have a level of freedom.
Yeah.
As a parent, him being autistic,
Hmm.
it scares the crap out of me, but
Yeah.
I don't want to tell him no, because I some people, we don't know what dreams are important to them,
Hmm.
right? and
Sure.
and 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 so if somebody tells me that they've got something, it's an idea or a dream that they want to do, then I'm like, go for it.
Yeah.
Let failure stop you, but don't let yourself stop you, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to go and dive headfirst into something, do it till it makes you stop.
Hmm. Yeah.
Don't stop yourself. And those are lessons
Well,
that I
that's
learned.
why you've got to have a great support system, like you said. And if you don't have it, you find these communities like,
Mhm.
WealthCon and different programs. And I mean, I think you've been a part of several different ones over the years,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So,
So,
yeah, I mean, just for me, I went to a 3-day multifamily mindset workshop a
yeah.
year ago. That's what got me started on my
Oh,
journey.
that was with Eric, right?
Um,
Chatterton.
yes,
Yes. Because that's,
yes,
I think, how we initially got connected.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And Eric is a great
he
dude.
is.
I feel fortunate enough to have met him there on my
Yeah.
first day. Funny story too is like, um, there was a break and I went to go to lunch, and my card had gotten declined because it
Oh,
got
no.
corrupted.
Oh, no.
And there I had ordered this food, and Eric
Yeah.
had paid for my lunch. And I
Aw.
was like super
Yeah.
thankful to him
Right.
about that. And we ended up talking that whole time
Oh, that's cool.
about real estate,
Yeah.
and we had connected really well, and we had a lot in common, and we
Mhm.
had the same ideas. And just that 20 minutes of talking to
Mhm.
him solidified that I was doing the right thing.
Because
Right?
that was when you got into it, was
Yeah.
that event?
Yep. At that event.
And where was that?
That was here in Vegas.
Okay.
So
Wow.
where
Very
did
cool.
where did they do that? I think I might have done that. I can't remember what
Yeah.
hotel we did
So
it
how
at, but-
did you find out about the event?
So I think I actually saw it in a newspaper, which was
Oh,
really
really?
odd. Yeah, I didn't see it online.
People still read the newspaper?
I know, right? I don't even read the
You're
newspaper, and I
really-
saw it printed. And I'm like,
Yeah.
just randomly, and I'm like, I'm gonna go check this out. And the reason I did that is that, for the last 15 or so years, I've been in manufacturing management, operations, and it hasn't been fulfilling. It's not something that I've enjoyed. I did it because I wanted to support my family and support my wife on her journey to achieve her goals. And when she hit where she wanted to be, thankfully, she was awesome enough to say, hey, you supported me, so now it's your turn. Go do what you want to do, chase your own dream. And, to be honest, I mean, like my ultimate dream was, hey, man, sell everything, go back on the road like when I was single, and, be a guide and travel right. But, that was the life of a 20-year-old dude, right?
Yeah.
And, here I'm in my 50s now, and it's like, how do I achieve that type of freedom, right? And that's what I was chasing. I wasn't chasing money. I was chasing freedom. And going to that 3-day workshop was enlightening for me. And I was like, I knew immediately this is what I needed to do. I had enough knowledge in real estate from my family's investments and things like that. I have family that are builders in Florida.
Okay.
So my first job as a kid, when I was 12 years old, I worked with my uncle, just huffing shingles, 50-pound stacks of shingles up a ladder onto the roof of the house.
Jeez.
And for peanuts, that's like, don't ever work for your family.
Yeah.
They're going to pay you nothing.
Well, but I'm sure you learned a lot. So
I learned quite a bit from it.
What was it at the workshop that like stood out to you?
So the ability to scale, right?
Okay.
I mean, if I'm going to put in the same amount of effort into finding a home for a fix and flip or the Burr method, I wanted to be able to scale bigger, faster. And of course, my path has been different in the sense where, I had to manage my resources and leverage time and money very efficiently to get on my path and my journey, right?
Sure.
And so could I have gone faster? Absolutely. But I'm okay with the journey that I've been taking because it's led me to some great people like Eric and a bunch of other people as well.
Did you end up joining that program or no?
So I did join, but I not at like the full level. And
right. Because I know I think it's very expensive for what
it's pretty expensive.
Is it like 40,000?
Yeah, something like that. So I went in at a really low level for what I could afford. But what?
You still got in and got what you,
because
could.
It's all about the knowledge you gain,
sure.
right? So you take what you can from those resources. So it was checking out properties and learning underwriting.
Okay.
All things that are super significant to the business.
Yeah. And like finding a deal.
Finding deals, learning markets and market knowledge. Now that's actually something that I had a lot of experience in. And this is a funny thing. It wasn't any formal education. Like I said before, my family moved around quite a bit.
Yeah.
So as a kid, when I was 12, when we started moving, we would go to a new place. We moved to LA. Well, I learned about the LA real estate market when I was 12.
Wow.
Because that's where we were moving. And I was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
It stemmed from curiosity. So anytime we moved to a new place, the first thing I did was I want to find out about the real estate market.
Yeah.
Is it a growing market? What are house values at? What are opportunities? And even though I was a kid, it was just something I did as a hobby.
Yeah.
And
It was just an interest for you.
yeah. A
Okay.
lot of it, because again, I didn't have a whole lot of friends as a young kid because we moved around a lot. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I just got interested in because we did it, as a family.
So has that been it started with multifamily as the focus.
Mhm.
So you were doing that for what, a year and a half?
About a year, because
year?
I'm now in my journey for about a year and 2 months.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
So you had just started then. That's right. When I met you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. It's already been that long, huh?
I know, a
Yeah.
year. And what's really, I think the most impressive about this whole journey was losing my job in April.
That's right. Yeah.
So, I was running a distribution center.
Mhm.
They brought in a manufacturing line, and, with manufacturing operations experience, it was something that I could help the company out with quite a bit,
Mhm.
and send up programs and processes, and installed a quality program that was non-existent before.
Wow.
And, the thing is that we kind of came to a head, and we had different ideology and visions as
Mhm.
to where the company should go. And, they decided we should part ways.
Yeah.
And that was April 8th of this year. And I didn't feel bad for 1 second.
Yeah.
It actually felt like a huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. I was like, I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? This is an opportunity. This is an
Mhm.
opportunity. It's a gift, and I'm grateful for it. And what's crazy, Kate? This is the night before I prayed.
Yeah.
That, and I asked God. I need a sign, because I was really struggling. I was
Mhm.
really struggling with that company and that job. I was miserable. I was doing it because I wanted to support the family, but I wanted to be gone from that place. And then it was the next day I got let go.
What was so hard, or like why didn't you want to be there?
It wasn't fulfilling more than
But
anything.
beyond that, was it like, because you said you had different visions
Yeah,
of where
so
the company was going to go?
right. They were building 10,000 units of a subscription box every month for
Mhm.
orders for customers. And there were supply chain issues. And what I was trying to explain and show them through processes is that
Mhm.
production is like a domino, like setting up dominoes.
Mhm.
And when you hit one, all the other dominoes fall in line, and they have to go at a certain pace. And if one thing falls out, then your domino chain stops falling, right?
Mhm.
And so they would order parts, and without knowing exactly when they were going to produce them,
Mm.
what was going into the box. They didn't get the art and designs approved. And I'm like,
So there was just like a lot of
there was
operational things.
there was lots of operational
Mhm.
inefficiency, and that was what I specialized in. And I
Right.
said, listen, you got to think beyond the warehouse and look at the entire process,
Mhm.
and it all has to fit together like Legos. And I maybe I shouldn't have, because I'm direct, but
Mhm.
I asked the CEO. I said, why did we buy this company?
Mhm.
And what was the purpose? What was the goal? What's the vision?
Mhm.
I go, I want to deliver for you, but without a vision, I don't know what you want. And so what can I give you? And since they weren't giving me a vision, I decided to take that into my own hands and just run the company. And I wasn't trying to step on anybody's toes. I was actually just trying to make my life easier.
Yeah.
And I was trying to get the product to our customer.
Okay.
So that was it. I told them, if you're not planning on building 100,000 of these units by next year versus $10,000 this year, then you should rethink why you bought the company.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. I mean, it was causing me a lot of misery. My family could tell you, I mean, I was just grouchy all the time. I was edgy all the time. I was angry. It was extremely stressful. And that, you know, when we parted ways, it was really the best thing that ever happened to me. And actually since April till now.
So that's been like a few months.
Yeah. 2.5, 3 months. I mean, business has gone from steady incline to just
all your real estate investments.
Yeah. So I mean, and you know, in that sense is like, well, my investments are my time and my outreach, right? Because I'm building that business.
Yeah. Why don't you walk us through that? Because everyone talks about real estate investing. There's all these different ways you can do it. But like, what does it actually look like when you're starting to get into this business and, you know, you're new? Like, what is the actual grind? Like, what's the real, like, what does that look like? Yeah,
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's probably more than most people realize, right? And if you're new, it's like swimming in soup. You don't know what's up and down. And you really are, I think the biggest part is gaining that knowledge to have an understanding, but you can't let that stop you.
So, but like, what's like, just break it down. Like, what's step one?
Okay. Like step one is like, you know, decide what it is that you really want to do. Right.
So it's like, let's just say it's multifamily because that's what you were doing.
Yeah, for me, it was multifamily. So the first thing I had to do was understand is that it takes a lot to get a multifamily deal. So you have to network with the right people. You have to find a team.
Okay.
That means asking a lot of questions.
Because you can't just find a deal. Like you can't just go online and find a deal, right?
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Exactly. Okay. Right. I mean, you need to find a property that's going to hopefully make you money. Right. And those ones aren't just, they're picking apples off a tree.
They're like, you have to hunt for them. They're hiding.
Yeah, you do. Exactly. And then, you talk to a lot of brokers.
Okay.
So if you're going to source deals, you have to talk to a lot of brokers.
Okay.
You have to know what your buy box is. Like, what is it that you want? You know? And for us right now, we're currently looking at mobile home parks in the Southeast from 50 pads all the way up to 200 pads.
Okay.
And, from Ohio all the way down to Florida on the eastern side of the country. Okay. So you need to know what you want and how much you want to spend. Well, we'll spend up to $4 million.
I was going to say, how much do those cost?
Right. Well, it depends, because each market's different. Yeah. But, say like right now we're looking at one that is 150 pads and they're asking around $4 million for it.
Really? Wow. Yeah. Okay. So what do you charge for those? Like monthly? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. So what you do is like once you identify what you want to buy and you find brokers that can help you find those things, then you need to be able to know what you're looking at, right? So it's really important to learn how to underwrite, how to analyze deals. Okay. That's where it's really important to understand market trends. You have to know, if the market that you're in is a growing market. Are people moving there?
Right.
Are jobs moving there, or is it an area in decline? You'll see a lot of parks for sale that seem like a great deal, right?
But it's not a great area.
Yeah, the people may be moving out of the area, so you may be able to get cash flow, but your long-term appreciation isn't look good, and so
you have to weigh all of those things,
right? Okay. Which leads to the idea is like you may know it all, but you don't know it all.
Yeah.
And that's where you have to rely on building a good team, where you want to make sure that you have a good asset manager who understands the business plan. So we're staying on track. We know what the end game is. Yeah. We know when we can get out of a property, or if we have an opportunity to get out earlier of a property and give higher returns to an investor. You need to know your end game, and having a good asset manager is key to that. with my background in manufacturing.
That's what you would be, right? Is the asset manager?
No, I don't actually want to be an asset manager.
Okay.
And that's the thing too.
Okay.
You get to decide your level of
Mhm.
involvement, right? The asset manager is the big player on the team.
Okay.
They're making sure that the business plan goes right. They're on the phones with the property managers.
Mhm.
They're making sure that money's being spent on the right things on each
Yeah.
quarter, because you have to manage your expenses.
Mhm.
So if you have capital expense and you're making improvements to the
Mhm.
property, well, you're not going to go dump $1 million all in the first year, right? You want to make sure
Yeah.
that you're putting your money in stages and you're increasing value over time.
Right.
You don't want to be too heavy on one end and light on the other. And
Mhm.
so it really takes somebody with a lot of knowledge and experience for that. I don't have that. And so I make sure that when I'm working with a team that
So what is your role then? Is like, because I feel like everyone teaches like how to be more of that player, right? Because that's where you make the most money or something.
Exactly. Asset managers tend to get a bigger chunk of the
But you can still be involved in other ways.
Absolutely.
Like, what if you found the deal though?
Right.
On your own, then can you still what is that called?
So if you're sourcing the deal, right, and you bring the deal to the table, then you can become a GP partner on that, because you're bringing the deal to the table. But then
you don't have to manage it after that.
No, it doesn't necessarily have to be. But you're still involved, right? You want to be involved, right? Because you want to make sure that the property that you brought to the table that is a good deal ends up staying a good deal. Right.
Because then after you find the deal, then you have to go raise the money, right? Which obviously if you're raising money and you want to be able to follow through on what you've projected, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And I think that, like, for me, deal sourcing and capital raising, that's my strength.
Okay.
Right?
So a lot of people struggle with the capital raising though. So give us some insight there.
It's because for me, it's not about the money.
Okay.
It's not about the money. I want to hang out with you. I want to get to know you. I want to find out.
I'm talking in your mic. Yeah.
There we go. I'm sorry. I get excited.
I know. I'm like, you're missing the mic now.
So I want to know you. I want to find out what makes you tick. I mean, I want to, know your birthday, know your wife's birthday. And it's not like because I want to send out a card, because I truly care. And that's important to me. It's important because my family's important to me. And everything that I do is to improve the lives of the people that I touch.
Yeah.
And that, for me, in this business is funny, especially if you're new and you get into it. It's like stage one. I want to change my life. I want to change my life, right? Because we want to get out of the grind for whatever reason it is. That's why I'm in this business, right? And then once you get your feet wet, you're like, well, I'm changing my life. Now I want to improve the lives of my family. Right? Yeah. My daughter wants to be a filmmaker. Yeah. Then I am going to, make the money so that I can produce her films. Right. I want to be actively involved in her success. Same with my son. Right. Yeah. I want to make sure that when I'm gone, he's taken care of. Yeah. Because there's a lot that he can do for himself. There are things that he may not be able to do, and he needs supports. Right. So that was it. So that was stage 2. I want to change the lives of my family. Right. But stage 3 is like where true altruism comes in. And this is where the satisfaction and the happiness, right, and fulfillment comes, is changing the lives and helping improve the lives of other people. Yeah. Because like I stated before, I was miserable because I didn't feel fulfilled in what I was doing. We were building things and it was going out, and the reality is most of the stuff we buy ends up being junk and thrown away or whatever, or upcycled but the reality is that's all stuff. And so the impact that you make is on the lives of the people that you meet. Yeah. And that's why I feel like I do well at what I do, because I'm not calling investors, I'm making friends.
Okay.
I'm making friends because you'll come to a barbecue. I'll go to your cookout. We'll go on vacations together.
Yeah.
When you get into these type of deals, it's not like you're going to the car lot and you buy the car and you drive it off. And then, if you have a warranty, great, but you don't ever talk to that salesman again,
Yeah.
right? It's not the same in real estate. When you, especially in multifamily or commercial, these deals are 3 to 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So you're going to know that person for half a decade.
So but what does that really look like? Let's say you have a deal.
Yep.
Okay. And let's just say you're coming to me to present it. How does that conversation go?
Yeah. I mean, the people that I see now, they know what I do. Right.
Okay.
So it's not, I'm not going to people blindly. They know.
But is that what it is? Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it how does it go?
It's a lot of things, right?
Okay.
First, it starts out with emails, intros, and then a lot of it is the social media too. People see what I'm posting.
So do you share deals? I don't remember.
I talk about them. I don't share any deals right now because there's a lot of rules.
So you just kind of
talk about real estate, talk about things that we're working on, and then when a deal comes, I call the people that I know, say, hey,
okay, so you have coming. Like a list of people.
It takes a while to build a good investor list.
Okay, perfect. See, this is good stuff. This is good content for people to hear. What does this really look like? Because it's, make friends. It sounds good. I love it. I'm all for that. But people want to know, okay, but what does that look like?
So here, I'll tell you one thing that I did, right? Because it is harder to raise capital now, right? So there's a lot of things that people do similarly. So if you want to raise capital, you need contacts. Then you need to think outside the box.
Sure.
Okay. Here's a tip. This is what I did. All right. I wanted to build an investor list, but you want to build a targeted investor list. You want to attract people who have the funds and resources to be able to invest in what you do. So what did I do? I went to the Clark County Bar Association. Okay. And I looked up every single lawyer in Clark County, and they will tell you who's active, who hasn't, who's retired, who has had their license suspended, and it gives you all their contact information. Okay. So all I did was I robbed it all. They put it on their website. I downloaded all that information and I started emailing. Okay. I just basically put out an introductory email. I'm not soliciting anything. I'm telling you who I am and what I do. And I invite you to follow me, to sign up for a newsletter, right? And something like that. So once they do that, they get knowledge. Every once a month, they'll get something that says, hey, this is how the market's going. They have that interest, right? Then what happens is that I will reach out and make a call. Okay. Right. And I will introduce myself, follow up, ask them if they have any questions for me, and then try to find out, what they're looking to gain for their retirement. Right. And so what are your goals? Essentially, that's what you need to do. You need to find out where they need help and what their goal is and come to a solution for them, offer them a solution. Okay. And so when a deal finally comes, especially on a syndication, if it's a 506C, that can be advertised, and then you can reach out to your investors and then you'll say, hey, well, I've been talking to Al for 6 months or Drew, excuse me. I said Al and I want to clarify that out. That's Al's my real name, but I go by Drew. Long story and I won't get into it, but the idea is that once you've built that relationship and there's a level of trust there, and they know that I'm only working with the best operators, then they're willing to trust me to invest in a deal. And that's one thing I think is a capital raiser, especially new capital raisers. They're excited because they want to raise money. And it takes money to get into the deal, but it cannot be about the money. Okay. And it sounds ironic, sounds stupid, but it really isn't, because what I'm doing is I'm selling trust. Yeah. right? I'm selling trust. And it's funny because, we were watching Willy Wonka, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what I tell my family as a joke, in the sense is that I'm Willy Wonka and I hold the golden ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I have what people want, right? But if they want to get the golden ticket, they got to come to me, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
just going to come to me. They need to trust me,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to give them something. They're giving me something in return. And it's really about the trust more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I invest people's money as if it were my own money.
Well, right. Because if you, because it could go wrong, right? Like,
Absolutely.
And that's why the trust is so important.
Yeah.
Because, they're presenting the information, right? But like, you have to trust that they put it together and presented it in the right way.
Right.
Exactly. I don't know.
No, yeah. I mean, you're going to have a pitch deck, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to show all the returns on it. It's going to
Yeah.
show how that deal is good, why we decide to buy a deal. It's going to give you information about the team and our
Mm-hmm.
experience and deals that we've closed
Yeah.
and all these units that we may have under management. All those things are extremely important
Yeah.
when you're presenting a deal. But if I'm not trustworthy, I could have
Mm-hmm.
the best deal in the world. Nobody's going to give me any money.
Right.
So, and I guess for a capital raiser, somebody who's looking to do investor relations, remember the big thing overall is that you're not selling deals, you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
You're selling who you are, right? And I guess identity is a big part of that. You
Yeah.
have to know
Know who you are and what you value.
Exactly.
So if you're just getting into it and you don't have the credibility yet, as far as in that space, right?
Yeah.
With real estate investing, what do you recommend is a way that you can enhance, I guess, the credibility when you're new? Or like, what's
Right.
the angle you take there?
Well, that's it, right? I mean, that's like the $1 million question, right? For me, I think it came down to really allowing myself to be open about my struggles and
Mm-hmm.
my experiences, because people need to know who I am and what my story is and
Mm-hmm.
what I'm about. I think a lot of people hear that and it sounds like, oh, what am I pitching? Right. And in a way you are pitching, but you're not. To me, my story is my truth.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's open and it's honest and I'm willing to be vulnerable, then I feel that attracts the people that will want to trust me and invest with me. I'm not going
I guess
after everybody.
like the people that would want to invest with you, what would you how do they know that they want to make that investment? Like, how would they even, where would the interest even be sparked initially if they didn't know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes through education and the outreach too. And I find like the social media is really the best
Mm-hmm.
way to reach out to people and broaden your audience. Like, I'm going after people who are high dollar earners. They may have other types of investments.
Like what? Like where
they
do
could
they?
be most people are their traditional 401k.
Okay.
Right. Or they may own a summer home and they don't realize that they can capitalize on that.
Okay.
And the biggest one is stocks, bonds, and 401ks.
Okay.
And because that's the traditional thing.
Right.
It's the one thing that we all know about, right? You go, you get a 9-to-5 job and your company offers you a 401k and you can pick and choose how much you want to put into that. Your company may match you, right? And you feel like that's a great thing. I'm getting free money, 3% free if I put in 6%. That's what the company that I worked with did, right? And I'm like, well, I can't beat 3%, if they're going to give that to me. But then, that comes from just asking people, and it can be uncomfortable, but you got to not be uncomfortable talking about money.
So like if you were making a video and you're saying this about 401ks, like what would you say? Like, hey, this is what you've been told to do. This might be something you're doing. This is something I did for all these years. Yeah. And then I realized if I invest it here, then I can get this type of return. right? Like
Yeah,
what's
that's exactly it, right? I mean,
okay. What is the difference?
so
What is the return the
right.
range?
So, I mean, with your
I know it's different
401k, right? So when your 401k,
Mhm.
I mean, I think I was averaging, 8%.
Okay.
I think that's pretty good. If you may get 10% if
Yeah.
the market's doing well, but there's a lot of volatility, right?
Mhm.
So you're constantly going back and forth with your broker, or you're rechecking your 401k every quarter and
Yeah.
making adjustments, and you get those in, and you're looking at what mutual funds I can put
Mhm.
in, and what bonds are there. A lot of that may be confusing to a lot of
Mhm.
people, right? So that it isn't necessarily easier. It is difficult,
Mhm.
but it's just what they're accustomed to. And you see, 8%. Wow, I'm getting 7%. Or the market dives, and everything that you earned for the last 10 years is all of a sudden wiped out,
Yeah.
right? That has happened to people we know. And one of the beauties of investing in real estate, especially in larger properties like multifamily or
Mhm.
mobile home parks or RV parks, is that they're they're recession resistant,
Okay.
right? In the sense that, especially for the type of investments that we do, it's almost, you have to think backwards, right? You're like,
Mhm.
oh, interest rates are high, I don't want to invest, I don't want to buy property. But what are the results of high interest rates and high values? And
Mhm.
like here in our market here in Las Vegas, I think I read a week or so ago, it costs like $400,000 for the median home in
Mhm.
Las Vegas,
Yeah.
and interest rates are high.
Yeah.
Well, I hear it all the time. I'm being priced out. I can't buy a
Yeah.
house. That's actually great for people who invest in multifamily,
Mhm.
because what would a family do? They can't afford to buy a house right
They have
now.
to rent.
They're going to rent, right?
Yeah.
And then they're going to save money for a down payment. And eventually
Yeah.
they'll buy. But in the meantime, they have to
Rent.
rent.
Yeah.
So these conditions are great
Mhm.
for investing in real estate right now. And so those are the perspectives, as somebody who is an investor has to be able to present
Mhm.
to other people. Say you have volatility with your 401k or your
Mhm.
IRA, right? And we're here, there's more stability. And if some of the deals that I've actually passed on GPing on deals, because um even though the returns were good, there were other deals that were even better out there,
Mm.
right? And you're
Yeah.
looking at like an 8 to 9% pref, and 22 to 25% IRR, over the life of
Okay.
that. That's a 25% return. Who gets
Yeah.
25%,
So that is significantly more than the
Yeah,
401k.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you have, a 401k or an IRA, then you talk to people about self-directed IRAs, where you can take your money that you've had in a 401k and
Without
move,
being
yeah,
penalized.
and move it, and then use that to invest, and take that power
Okay.
back and invest your money in a way that you see fit.
Yeah.
And with these type of investments, the returns are significantly better.
Yeah. Wow. So that was a lot of good information.
Yeah, thanks.
That should be some good clips right there. Cause yeah, there's a lot to it. And I think that so many people are talking about it online, but it's like, well, what does that really look like? How does that really work?
Yeah.
And so people, you know, uh, with social media, the information is out there, right? And it all sounds good. What I feel like has the best engagement is the content that's really transparent and really like walks you through exactly what it looks like, even
Mhm.
if it like the good and the bad,
Yeah.
because people appreciate that.
Exactly. And there's a lot of bad. I mean, and that's one thing that can't be sugar coated,
Mm-hmm.
because you get a property under, contract, and you're done your due
Mm-hmm.
diligence, right? And you think you've found everything. And
Yeah.
then you get to work, and then you find something else, right?
Okay.
There is nothing that goes right in every deal. And if
Sure.
anybody that tells you otherwise, they're full of it.
Yeah.
Because there's, you know, think about if you're a homeowner, you bought your first house or you bought the house that you're in, right? All those things that you had to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's stressful. Think about buying 150 units,
Right.
right? So there's 10 times more things that you need to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important that when you're going to invest, you have to ask the right questions
Okay.
of that team.
Okay.
Right. And say, well, how many of these deals have you done? What is your success rate?
Okay.
How long have you been doing it? Right. Because there's going to be people who are experts at their certain job, like the asset manager, like the property manager, right?
Yeah.
So there's all these people that are on the team and, and making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. So if you're looking to invest money with somebody, you want to make sure that you are asking good questions. And I actually have a list of questions that investors can ask. So if they want to, reach out to me, I'll be more than happy to send.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So, because you want to come in knowledgeable. You're going to invest. You need to ask the right questions because you want to protect your money.
Sure.
And, but that's it. The team has to be good. You have to really trust the people that you're working with, and experience matters, especially in this business.
What would you say maybe are some red flags? Just give us a couple to look out for.
Yeah, red flags is just not giving full disclosure, right?
Okay.
I mean, for me, if I'm raising money, I want to tell you why I want to get into the deal, but I have to tell you what the risks are.
Okay.
And if somebody isn't telling you what the risks are, they either don't know, and that's a red flag, or they do know, and that's a bigger red flag.
Okay, that's a good tip.
Because you got to have that. You have to know what's happening with that property. There's always, like I said, there's always something that's going to go sideways, and you need to be able to have a team that is going to keep you in the loop all the time. Definitely.
Yeah, that's good. So I guess we could talk all day, knowing us, but what kind of content are we going to see from you? Or no, I'm sorry. Let me go back. I need to ask, why are we pivoting into the mobile homes? I don't know if we wrapped up that.
No. So topic. That's actually a great question. Multifamily is the market is very difficult right now, especially after COVID. There was a lot of values that went through the roof, and then there were moratoriums, so that caused values to increase and rent prices to go up. But then we basically hit a point where we peaked. Right. And so a lot of the other things that were happening, depending on what market you're in, if you're in the Sun Belt, or if you look like Texas is, had a significant increase in natural disasters, whether it's hurricane or extreme heat and flooding and things like that causes insurance premiums to go up. And so your margins are smaller. It's harder to make money on multifamily. Does that mean that there aren't good deals out there? No, absolutely not. But in our business, we need to be flexible and open to new opportunities. And mobile home parks is an opportunity right now because there is a negative connotation that's associated with a mobile home park in a lot of ways, right? You see it in the movies, you see it everywhere. But the reality is that mobile home parks are a vital housing source for a lot of working class people. And what's happened in the last few years is that even rental properties, the price of rents have gotten higher. So again, people are looking for more affordable alternatives. And one thing that isn't happening is you don't see mobile home parks popping up because a lot of communities don't want more mobile home parks. They'll allow the ones that they have, but they're not going to allow more and more parks. So it's a kind of a finite resource in a way, which drives up long-term appreciation. And the returns on mobile home parks are right now are significantly better.
Okay.
There's a lot more work that goes into buying a mobile home park.
Okay.
And because there are different variables that you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at when you're underwriting and looking for red flags, and there are far more red flags in mobile home parks
Okay.
as well versus like a multifamily property. Usually when you underwrite a multifamily property or a deal gets sent to
Mm-hmm.
you, the financials are in order because
Okay.
they're running that property
Mm-hmm.
like a business. A lot of mobile home parks are mom and pops.
Okay.
You know, a lot of mobile home parks don't have city water, they're on wells.
Okay.
So you have to make sure that the well water's good. Have they been
Yeah.
certified? Septics are another big expense. So there's a lot of work that goes into finding value in mobile home parks,
Okay.
but it's worth the extra work. And you know, if you're an investor looking for a really solid return and good cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
especially in a high inflation recessionary time period like
Mm-hmm.
this, cash flow is so important, right? When things are
Yeah.
so expensive, you need more money.
But yeah, that's good to know. So that's the
Yeah.
direction.
And having a team
Mm-hmm.
that knows how to handle a mobile home park is really important, because at least for me, like, I understand that, you know, there is a lot of elderly people on fixed incomes who
Mm-hmm.
live in mobile home parks.
Okay.
And safety is a concern. We're showing that we don't just care about the bottom line, we care
Sure.
about them.
Yeah, which is so important.
It
As
is
we
a
know.
people business. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, and and they say a relationship business, and it is a relationship business. But even beyond that, you know, beyond the relationships you build,
Mm-hmm.
you affect people, and so it
Yeah.
is a people business, whether directly or indirectly. And for me, that's something that's really important, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't come from money. You know, my parents are immigrants. My dad worked in a factory, and you know, my mom cut hair, and they didn't
Mm-hmm.
speak English, and they had to learn English, right? You know, when I grew up, my brother and I shared a bedroom in a
Yeah.
two-family house.
Sure.
We came from nothing, and my parents built something. And you know, I remember those things. I
Mm-hmm.
remember those struggles. You know, those had a huge impact on who I am as a person. So I know what it's like
Yeah.
to worry about paying your rent. It allows me to have a better, I feel like, perspective on who my tenants are.
Yeah, that's a good point. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? We'll wrap it up with that question.
Yeah, 5 years, man. So, gosh, that I still won't. Yeah, I mean, 5 years. That's a good one. I don't think so much in terms of 5 years, because, you know, so much happens in between in your
Mm-hmm.
life. Like, 5 years ago, would I say I'm doing this right now? Probably not. But I do know now that within the next year, I am going to have this business to the point where I can take my daughter Margot to Paris for graduation.
Okay.
That we're going to build a business that allows me to fund her movie projects,
Mm-hmm.
and we are going to. I'm gonna say it right now, putting it here right now, that next year I'm going to be speaking on that stage at WealthCon.
Okay.
Maybe
Okay.
sooner. I don't
Yeah.
know. No, but seriously, that is a goal of mine. I would love to
Yeah.
be up there and do that. Just, I want to grow the brand. I want to grow the business. I want to
Mm-hmm.
help people, you know, and I just don't see myself stopping from this. I just keep taking one step at a time, building on it, building a network
What
of
are
people.
the things that you have to do to, like, what does it look like?
What does it look like for me?
Like, yeah, what
Yeah.
are the actual, like, deliverables?
The deliverables, let's see. So, like, 5 years from now, I would love to have, you know, 500 or more units under
Okay.
management.
Okay.
And I believe that that's actually a very conservative number.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I think I could probably do that in a year and a half.
Okay.
But you know, I want to put a realistic goal, just so much
Mhm.
changes. But yeah, I want to also move in the direction of learning about funds and
Okay.
starting a fund and being a fund manager.
Okay.
So that's another thing that's on the
Okay.
horizon within the next couple of years, I believe, as well. So
Very
it's
cool.
always about learning and growing.
Yeah. No, I love it. So, okay, I'm excited to see what you're going to be posting more of and where you're going to be in a year. And are you coming to WealthCon?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna be
awesome.
here. So.
And you're bringing the family or
No, it's just gonna be
just
me.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
just gonna be me.
Well, yeah, let me know if they want to come too. We
Okay.
can maybe throw in a couple extra tickets.
All right.
All right. That's all until next time. Thanks, Drew.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it so much.